A waitress unknowingly mistreats Clint Eastwood, assuming he's just an ordinary elderly customer, only to later discover he owns the restaurant. Eastwood's calm response and heartfelt life lessons inspire the staff to embrace kindness and humility, transforming their approach to customer service. Where are you watching from? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to like, share, and please complete our 1,000 subscribers for more inspiring stories. The evening air in Carmel by the Sea carried a crisp breeze as locals and tourists strolled down its charming streets. Nestled among the art galleries and boutique shops stood Sierra Grill, a rustic yet elegant restaurant that had quickly become the town's latest buzz. Known for its farm-to-table dishes and intimate atmosphere, the place was packed most nights, its warm glow spilling out onto the cobblestone street. Inside, Clint Eastwood leaned back in his chair, surveying the room with a quiet, discerning gaze. The legendary actor and filmmaker had always been a man of few words, but tonight he was entirely silent. Dressed in a simple flannel shirt, faded jeans, and a baseball cap pulled low over his face, he was almost unrecognizable. The deliberate choice of attire wasn't just about blending in. It was about observing the world without being noticed, a rare opportunity for someone of his stature. Clint had a special attachment to Sierra Grill. It wasn't just another business venture. He had designed the space himself, drawing inspiration from his love of the outdoors and his admiration for the small-town charm of Carmel, where he had once served as mayor. While the restaurant was publicly owned by a hospitality group, Clint was its silent partner, preferring to let the establishment succeed or fail on its own merits. Tonight, he decided to step into the shoes of an ordinary patron, curious about the experience from a customer's perspective. He had deliberately chosen one of the busiest evenings, hoping to see his staff in action during the most challenging hours. As Clint waited at his small corner table, the restaurant buzzed with energy. Servers darted between tables, balancing trays laden with steaming plates and glasses of wine. The soft hum of conversations and clinking cutlery filled the air. 10 minutes passed, then 15. Clint glanced around, noting that several diners who had arrived after him were already being served. He raised his hand slightly, trying to catch the attention of a waitress passing by. "Excuse me, ma'am," he called out in a voice that carried just enough authority to make her pause. The waitress, a young woman named Sarah, turned with a look of mild irritation. Her shift had been hectic, and she was clearly overwhelmed. With her ponytail slightly askew and a weary expression, she approached Clint's table reluctantly. "Can I help you?" she asked, her tone sharp. "I've been waiting a while," Clint said politely, his tone calm and measured. "Could I get a menu, please?" Sarah rolled her eyes and sighed audibly. "We're busy," she said curtly. "You'll get a menu when I have time." Clint blinked, taken aback by her abruptness. Still, he remained composed. "Of course. I understand." Sarah huffed, clearly unimpressed by his patience. "Next time, maybe call ahead for a reservation," she muttered under her breath, before walking away, her footsteps brisk and annoyed. Clint's lips twitched into a faint smile as he leaned back in his chair. He wasn't offended, far from it. Instead, he felt a mix of curiosity and amusement. He watched as Sarah interacted with other tables, her demeanor shifting depending on the perceived importance of the customers. To a table of well-dressed professionals, she was all smiles and charm. To a group of teenagers, she was brusque and dismissive. As Clint waited, he reflected on his own early days, long before the fame and fortune. He remembered working odd jobs, including washing dishes in a diner much like this one. Back then, he had learned the value of treating every customer with respect, regardless of who they were. The irony of the situation wasn't lost on him. Here he was, the man responsible for the very existence of this restaurant, being treated as though he were an inconvenience. But Clint had always believed in letting actions speak louder than words. He decided to see how far this encounter would go before revealing the truth. As the minutes dragged on, Clint observed the other staff members. Some seemed genuinely dedicated, moving with efficiency and offering warm smiles to the guests. Others, like Sarah, appeared overworked and indifferent. He made a mental note to address these dynamics later, but first, he wanted to see how the evening would unfold. Little did Sarah know, her rudeness to the grumpy old man in the corner would soon lead to a lesson she, and the rest of the staff, would never forget. Clint Eastwood sat quietly, observing as the evening unfolded. The waitress, Sarah, continued to rush between tables, her attitude toward him oscillating between indifference and outright dismissiveness. Each interaction felt like a test of patience, but Clint's calm demeanor remained unshaken. When Sarah finally brought his meal, after nearly an hour of waiting, it was lukewarm and hastily presented. "Here you go," she said curtly, setting the plate down with a clatter. Before Clint could say anything, she was already turning away to attend another table. Clint sighed softly, deciding to let the meal wait. Instead, he gestured to a nearby manager, a middle-aged man named Mark, who appeared more composed despite the hectic evening. "Excuse me, could I speak with you for a moment?" Clint asked politely. Mark approached, his expression professional but wary. "Of course, sir. Is everything all right?" Clint nodded. "The food looks fine, but I was curious about your philosophy for customer service here." Mark raised an eyebrow, unsure of where the question was leading. "We strive to provide the best experience for our guests," he said cautiously. Clint smiled faintly, leaning forward. "And do you believe your team reflects that philosophy tonight?" Mark hesitated, glancing toward Sarah, who was now handling another table with a strained smile. "We've been unusually busy," he began, offering a diplomatic response. "But I assure you, we take guest satisfaction very seriously." Clint's expression remained calm, but his tone carried a hint of authority. "I appreciate that. Perhaps you'd consider gathering your staff for a quick meeting after the dinner rush. I'd like to share some thoughts." Mark blinked, caught off guard by the request. Something about the man's demeanor struck him as both unusual and compelling. "I'll see what I can do," he said finally, sensing that this was no ordinary customer. Later that evening, as the last of the patrons filtered out, the restaurant staff gathered in the dining area. Clint stood by the fireplace, his baseball cap now removed, revealing the unmistakable face of one of Hollywood's most iconic figures. The room fell silent as recognition dawned on each face. Sarah, in particular, froze, her cheeks flushing with embarrassment as she realized who the grumpy old man was. "Good evening," Clint began, his voice steady and kind. "First, I want to thank you all for your hard work tonight. Running a restaurant isn't easy, especially on nights like this." He paused, his piercing gaze sweeping across the room. "But I also believe there's always room for improvement." Turning towards Sarah, he offered a gentle smile. "I know how stressful this job can be. I've been in your shoes before. But let me share something I learned a long time ago. You never know who's sitting at your table. Whether they're wearing a suit or a flannel shirt, every customer deserves your best." Sarah looked down, her earlier arrogance replaced by genuine regret. "I'm so sorry, Mr. Eastwood," she stammered. "I didn't realize—" Clint raised a hand, stopping her mid-sentence. "No need to apologize to me. The lesson here isn't about recognizing someone famous. It's about treating everyone with respect, no matter who they are." He turned back to the group. "This restaurant isn't just about great food or a cozy atmosphere. It's about creating an experience that makes people feel valued, and that starts with each of you." The staff listened intently as Clint shared stories from his life, from his humble beginnings washing dishes in a diner to the values that guided his journey to success. He spoke about perseverance, kindness, and the power of humility. By the time he finished, the atmosphere in the room had shifted. Sarah approached him after the meeting, her eyes glistening with tears. "Thank you," she said quietly. "Not just for tonight, but for reminding me why I started this job in the first place." Clint nodded, placing a reassuring hand on her shoulder. We all have bad days. What matters is how we grow from them. The next morning, Sarah arrived early, determined to make amends. She greeted each customer with genuine warmth, her interactions now fueled by a newfound sense of purpose. Word quickly spread about the mysterious man who had visited Sierra Grill, and the story became a local legend, inspiring both staff and patrons alike. Clint, meanwhile, slipped back into his usual role as the restaurant's silent partner, content to let the place thrive on its own merits. But every now and then, he would stop by. Just another face in the crowd, watching as his vision of respect and community came to life. Thank you for watching till the end video. I hope you enjoyed the story. If you did, don't hesitate to like the video and share it with your friends too. Subscribe to our channel and turn on the notification bell for more fascinating stories.